Hello everyone and welcome back to Curse's Minds. Today we're looking at another circuit component called a Redstone Comparator. It's a complicated component which can be used to compare two inputs and output the result of a subtraction between them, or compare whether or not one input is stronger than the other. Okay, let's look at what a comparator looks like. It's a square device just like the repeater, but it has three torches this time, and it can be run in two different modes, and it also has two inputs, one's on the sides and one at the back. Here it is right next to our repeater, and you can see it's still got a triangular kind of shape, but it's a little bit different. So what have we got here? We've got the back input, and it's going through the comparator and it's making this lamp go on. But since we're running in subtraction mode, if we turn on this switch, it'll subtract this amount of signal from this amount of signal, and the resulting output isn't quite enough to keep the lamp going. So that's one of the modes. The other mode is comparison mode. So what it does is it compares this input with this input, and the output is determined by whether or not these two are the same or different, and it's determined by the strength at each of the inputs. Okay, let's look at this more closely. Okay, so first of all we look at subtraction mode. So it all depends on the strength of the input from the side and the input from the back. So when you place a torch, the strength it provides is 15. So this block has 15, this block has 14, and the input at the back has 14. At the side, if you turn on this first switch, this block has 15, this block has 14. So these two blocks each have 14. We're having a subtraction, so the output should be 0, and as you can see, none of the wires are sparkling. But if we start to go further away, this block has 15, 14, 13, this is still 14, we should output 1. As you can see, one block sparkling, and as we go along, we get more and more signal coming out, and eventually we'll end up with signal coming out that's enough to power the block, which needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Next we'll look at comparison mode. So that's with the torch off. So what the comparator does is it compares the two inputs, and if the inputs are equal, or the input in the side is less than the input in the back, it outputs the strength of the input in the back. Let me demonstrate. So here we've got 14 input, and here we've got 14 input, and the output should be 14. Now here we've got 14 input and 13 input, so the output should be 14. This is a bit of a annoying demonstration, so let's make the input less here. So what we've got here is the input is 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and the input here is 14. Since the side input and the back input are different, and the side input's bigger, we don't get any output at all. It doesn't just reduce it, it reduces it to 0. So here we've got 13, 12, 11, 10, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and these two are the same, so the output is whatever this input is. So we'll end up with 10. And then with 9 it's the same, 9, 8, 7, it doesn't change it after the strength is reduced below the input at the back. Alright, comparators also have another function. They can figure out how full a container that they are placed next to is. So this comparator is next to this container, an item hopper, which is currently empty, so it has no output. And I've wired up the circuit to show the result of the output of the comparator as we add things to the item hopper. So as you can see, all 4 of the torches are unlit. So we've got added diamond pickaxe, and what happens is the output of the comparator goes 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3. As you can see, this one's sparkling, and to show that I've got the torch lit up, this is the 3rd. So we'll put in a sword. This fills up the 2nd block. The 2nd slot in the item hopper, and it adds another 3 blocks to the redstone signal. This fills up the 3rd slot, the 4th slot, and finally the 5th slot, and it's finally gone all the way through. The signal has gone the full 15 blocks, which is the limit of redstone signal, and as you remove them, the signal decreases. But if we have items which stack instead of just 1 in each slot, we can end up with, we've got 1 slot fill with a stack of dirt. It makes the first torch show up. But if we split it and fill up all of the slots, the first redstone lamp still only lights up because we've only got the equivalent of 1 stack of dirt in there. So if we do 2, 3, 4, if we split the last one, it still only powers the 4. If we rearrange them, we've only got 4 stacks worth of dirt, and we really need to fill it up with 5 full stacks in order to power the whole circuit. Okay. One important thing I almost forgot to mention, if you have the hopper next to the comparator, this works, but also if you have the hopper next to a wall next to the comparator, like this dirt block, as long as the as long as the 3 things are in a line and not on different levels or something like that, you still get the same output through the comparator, which is pretty useful when you want to hide your wiring behind a wall. Okay. Finally, we're going to look at a circuit that we looked at last time, except this time we're using the comparator for it. So last time we had the switch, a wire going up to the top piston, and then we put a redstone repeater here, and that powered this 2nd piston. This time we have the comparator on the other side of the block, and what this does is it puts 15 strength of redstone into this block here, and what it does, as well as powering the wire going up, it puts what's called a strong signal into this block, which means that it can power other wires as well as the one that's just lying on top of it. And so this enables us to kind of reconfigure the circuit that we did last week, depending on what our desires for wiring are, and use comparators instead of using a redstone repeater. Oh, looks like the sun's going down, so we'll finish it there. Thank you for watching my redstone comparator tutorial, and if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please post them in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.